Good morning. My name is Jacki EDC, and I'm going to discuss the impact positive behavior supports have on children with emotional and behavior disorders. For your convenience, I will also include a detailed PowerPoint that highlights the points that I will make throughout this presentation. Let me first begin by clarifying what it means to have an emotional and behavior disorder, or what I will refer to as EBD. IDEA defines serious emotional disturbance as a condition exhibiting one or more of the following characteristics over a long period of time and to a marked degree, which adversely affects educational performance. An inability to learn which cannot be explained by intellectual, sensory, or health factors. An inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. Inappropriate types of behavior or feelings under normal circumstances, a general pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression, and a tendency to develop physical symptoms or fears associated with personal or school problems. There are different types of patterns of children with EBD. One is externalized behavior, which would be being aggressive or disruptive, acting out in class, that sort of thing. Or internalizers, which are also characteristics of emotional and behavior disorders, which would be characteristics of being withdrawn or depressed or anxious. There is a need for intervention for children with EBD. It has been proven that the most frequently reported mental health issues are externalizing and or disruptive behavior problems. And when students with ED go untreated, they may encounter problems with the law, they may drop out of school. It's something that is very important for us to intervene, and as early as possible would make the biggest difference. Students with EBD learn helplessness. So, we learned in class already, that means you pretty much have no concept that your actions will cause a certain consequence. You think whatever you do, it doesn't matter. Something bad's going to happen to you anyway. So why act well? Why be a good kid if it doesn't matter anyway? So we need to kind of make these students feel that they are in control. And there are certain ways that we can do that, and positive behavior supports is a part of making sure kids know that they are in control of their own consequences. My thesis for this presentation is that positive behavior supports is an effective approach to minimizing behavior and emotional distress and in facilitating positive academic, social, and emotional development for children with behavior and emotional disorders. The basic concept of positive behavior supports is that misbehavior should not necessarily be followed by punishment of one sort or another, but with attempts to understand the causes or antecedents of the misbehavior. So basically, instead of, a kid does something wrong and you just punish him, because you know it's wrong and he knows it's wrong, and so he should be punished. What we really should be doing is figuring out why they did that and what they were trying to get at or what they were trying to avoid. And by doing that, we can create a different environment where acting out would be unnecessary. They can already have what they need, or they can already, not be involved with a student that they don't want to be involved with, or there are just so many different factors that antecede negative behavior. So the teacher should introduce attempts to create a positive environment that would make misbehavior unnecessary. If we can create an educational climate in which personal needs and interests are being met, we generate less anger and cruelty that is so often accompanied by social transgressions. There are 3 levels of need in the positive behavior supports. There's the primary need, which is universal. It encompasses all students and students with minor behavior and emotional problems. There's the secondary level, which is more individualized, and there's the tertiary level, which is comprehensive. The primary level is used for students without serious behavior problems, which make up 80 to 90% of students with EBD. And 80% of the students that get these PBS supports will need no further supports when systems at this level are positive, consistent, and well established. Interventions that make up the primary level include positive school-wide expectations, taught and reinforced regularly, and clearly defined and reinforced procedures and routines. So if these students are in a structured environment, they know the rules and regulations, and they're constantly reminded of this stuff, most likely they will be following the rules because they know them, they know what to expect if they don't follow them, and they feel like they're in a comfortable environment where they know what will happen if they do something. The secondary level is individualized, and this includes students at risk for problem behavior, which makes up 5 to 15% of EBD students. And this, the interventions in this category require more specialized group interventions and specific services and supports provided for students who are identified as being at risk for developing more significant emotional, behavioral, and or academic problems are also included on this level. And the interventions include social skills groups, school counseling programs, peer tutoring, peer praise, and after-school homework clubs. On the tertiary level, it's more comprehensive and even more individualized than the secondary level. And this is for students with chronic and intense behavior problems, which make up 1 to 7% of students with EBD. Specialized, comprehensive, and individual interventions are included on this level, and although many of these students may qualify for categorical problems such as special education, many others with significant behavioral conditions who do not qualify for such services are also found at this level. And the interventions on the tertiary level include individualized behavior contracts, token economy systems, so children, they get something for doing something well. They're rewarded for having good behavior rather than being punished for bad behavior. Functional behavior assessment, which we learned in class, behavior support plans, applied behavioral analysis, wraparound programs, which includes constant consultation and collaboration with, educational professionals, parents, outside community sources. Everything is supporting the student, and they're all working together with the same goals in mind. So that has been proven to be pretty beneficial for these students, and IEPs for classified students. The effectiveness of positive behavior supports is greater the earlier the student is identified as having EBD. School-wide screening for students at risk of developing ongoing emotional and behavior problems can help schools for effectively focusing on existing resources and supports on at-risk students before problems become chronic. And for schools to become more effective at identifying students with both externalizing and internalizing behaviors, a database decision-making process that goes beyond office discipline referrals, which is commonly used to identify students with EBD, and it should include a more comprehensive analysis of student need. So, you maybe use those referrals, but you also use teacher observations and parent observations and all of that, so you can identify as many students with EBD as possible and as early as possible, so these interventions are as effective as they can be. Now, there are many positive results that have been proven already using the PBS approach. School-based prevention and intervention programs were found to be overall effective, yielding a large positive improvement in students. Studies that assess the impact of programs on children's strengths produced robust outcomes, and a similar trend was found for social skills. So these are really helping students develop emotionally and be academically successful, and really learn to work with students and work with teachers and enjoy school and enjoy themselves and know that, their life can be good. Special programs usually attempt to provide a structured environment where students experience a high degree of success. So what we were talking about before with the structure on level 1 and constant and consistent routines and procedures. And they really help, and they're consistently rewarded for appropriate behavior, and that's been beneficial for these students. Youth receiving the wraparound approach showed significant improvement on the child and adolescent functional assessment scale when compared with youth that were receiving traditional welfare services. In another PBS-related study, it was found that nearly half of the students identified as at risk were stabilized and or maintained by the school's existing selected positive behavioral supports and the use of regularly scheduled student support meetings. So educational professionals and students helping students is really beneficial for not only students with EBD, but all students. And helping schools develop strategies for identifying and supporting these students early in the development of their behavior problems should be an important component of PBS, which we also did discuss. Supporting students with internalizing types of behavior and concerns does remain as important as attending to students with externalizing behaviors. So that should really not go unnoticed, because those are your students that could wind up being suicidal, could be so withdrawn that they can't really interact, they don't transition well into after school life, work life, making, developing personal relationships. So that is something that really should be included when identifying these students. And the work involved in positive behavioral supports is clearly never done. Nothing in the educational realm really is. So it is important to constantly be working together and talking to parents and talking to children and making sure, everything's okay. And if everything isn't okay, we can try and fix it as best as we can, and at least give them the best environment possible for them to learn and grow and develop as individuals. So overall, I think that using the positive behavioral supports as an approach for all children, especially children with emotional and behavioral disorders, is very beneficial. And it's something that, anyone can really do, and it's not expensive. And, once you really, get a knack for it, it's very, very possible to help these students out. Thank you.